Even Biden caught off guard by his administration's foreign policy crises. Biden had met with French President Emmanuel Macron on the sidelines of the G7 summit in June, but had made no mention of the pending deal to provide Australia with nuclear-powered submarines. Even though he knew the deal would likely deprive France of its own contracts worth tens of billions of dollars, officials say Biden was still unprepared for the fury that erupted in Paris. After days of angry phone calls and public statements from the French, Macron took the extraordinary step of recalling the French ambassador to the US for the first time in modern history. Biden was receiving regular briefings on the fallout by National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan and Secretary of State Antony Blinken, and by Sunday the president told his advisors he wanted to speak with Macron, believing a direct conversation could help smooth things over. The debacle is the latest in a series of foreign policy crises that have erupted over the past several weeks for Biden, ones that both foreign diplomats and US officials have said were completely avoidable. The gaffes have left sources inside and outside the administration frustrated and perplexed, with some even comparing the lapses to what they'd expect from former President Trump.
Some administration officials have countered that the French would have been angry regardless of when and how the US notified them of the deal, with one going so far as to describe the French reaction as a temper tantrum. But many acknowledge that it could have been handled better. This brutal, unilateral and unpredictable decision reminds me a lot of what Mr. Trump used to do. Foreign Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian told France Info Radio. "I am angry and bitter. This isn't done between allies." These diplomats say there is intense interest in their capitals as to why this is happening, given the fact that Biden and many of his senior officials served in the Obama administration, an experience that should have left them seasoned enough to communicate more clearly, plan more carefully and execute more effectively. But recently, there have been too many surprises, the biggest being the rapid fall of Afghanistan to the Taliban. The chaotic and deadly withdrawal was also capped by a major tragedy when a US drone strike mistakenly targeted an Afghan NGO worker and killed 10 civilians. Addressing the nation last month, Biden said his administration had not expected Kabul to fall so quickly. "We were clear-eyed about the risks. We planned for every contingency. But I always promised the American people I would be straight with you. The truth is, this did unfold more quickly than we had anticipated." One administration official said that despite the criticism around the Afghanistan withdrawal, the administration kept NATO allies abreast of its plans for the withdrawal. Not enough people in their chairs. Some sources pointed to failures in coordination and communication between the National Security Council and the State Department, which is usually the main point of contact for foreign partners. But others said that they believe a key problem has been the lack of Senate-confirmed ambassadors and State Department officials who could serve as a check on the hugely powerful NSC inside the White House. Democratic Senator Bob Menendez, the chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, said during a hearing this week that nearly 80 nominations are still on hold. "The slow pace and many obstacles to moving nominees is unacceptable," he said. "It's dangerous. We're less safe when our national security agencies are so short-staffed. We have to fix this problem." One diplomat said that overseas, too, there is a perception that with the agonizingly slow pace of Senate confirmations of State Department officials, some foreign policy decision-making is more concentrated in the NSC. A source close to the White House echoed that assessment, noting that the NSC has tended to micromanage important national security decisions primarily because there are simply not enough people in their chairs. "We have an extremely powerful NSC because there are so few confirmed ambassadors and experienced diplomats who can offer an alternate view," the source said. "It's not enough to just have done a few years at a think tank. Hugely imbalanced even within the NSC, some voices are more powerful than others," one official said. "The NSC is hugely imbalanced in terms of personalities," the official said. "On the one hand, you have people like Kurt Campbell and Brett McGurk who are very larger than life and powerful, who can communicate with heads of state and have wide-ranging contacts in their regions. They are also politically savvy, the official said. But as of now, the official noted, there are no real equivalent bigwigs directing the Europe or South and Central Asia portfolios across the administration. One diplomat said that indeed, a perception among many foreign allies is that inside the NSC, there are a lot of civil servants who are super brainy but may lack political instincts. This diplomat said it wasn't clear to European envoys in Washington that the Asia team at the NSC, which worked on the AUKUS deal, even involved or briefed their colleagues who worked on France and Europe. If it's not a lack of personnel, that's a very different conversation, said a second diplomat. Intense focus on China. There are a lot of terrible things happening in the world, most of which are not Joe Biden's fault, but which do argue for the US doing something bold and beautiful to get our mojo back and reassure friends and allies that the US is willing to play its role, said Democratic Representative Tom Malinowski, vice chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee who served in the State Department while Biden was vice president. An erosion of trust. There is a real concern, for example, following the AUKUS debacle, that the US might step in and steal military deals from Europe, one diplomat said. The lapses have been all the more shocking, the diplomats say, because the Biden administration was seen as more competent and sympathetic than the Trump administration. It's not the decision-making style we expected, one diplomat said.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.